We're about to have a really serious introduction.
You don't know what ghetto style means right now.
All right, this is episode 44 of Three Brothers Talking, a podcast about life and practice from Three Brothers Reformed Baptist perspective. I am David Appelt.
I'm Andrew Appelt.
I'm Jeremy Appelt.
There we go. I literally, it looked like on the video screen, it looked like Andrew had just pulled out a cigar right when he started to talk. I think it's just a pen.
I can if you guys want me to.
It might not go good smoking a cigar in your basement.
I am in my basement, so yeah, it's probably not a good idea.
It'll permeate the rest of the house. Kaylee will love it.
Really oaky afterbirth.
It doesn't really, doesn't have a lot of place to air out when you're down in the basement.
Yeah.
But this is episode 44 of Three Brothers Talking. And
Man,
we're here
to 50.
to talk. We're almost to 50.
Yes.
We're inching our way there. We've had lots of fun things happen since the last time we recorded. I just got back from a little trip, anniversary trip. And Andrew's in the heat of his soccer season.
Right.
And
we're almost to tournaments.
Yeah. So we're in the midst of busier season.
Well,
for
what
all
about
of
me?
us.
Nothing's going on with Jeremy.
Yeah, Jeremy's got nothing going on.
We have a baby. So
Yeah.
we
You
almost
do.
moved Maddie into tomorrow night. Maddie's moving into her room, I think. So
really?
Getting her out of the bedroom?
yeah.
Wow.
I have never, even with Micah, I never suggested when. I think I might have asked something. Because Faith said, my baby tomorrow. I'm like, well, if you're going to do it tomorrow, you kept pushing it back. I'm like, maybe. I don't remember what happened. I did say something like, well, you said this, so let's just do what you said.
So yeah, like what changed in Faith to be like, pick out like, okay, tomorrow I'm good. Like,
She's 3 months now, so I think we did about 3 months with Micah too. It was about the same time frame.
yeah, man.
So
We were,
I mean, you
we
did
were
it like
we were
within
like
like a
7-8
week.
weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is what it is.
Addie's about ready to live on her own. You know?
Yeah.
Lincoln's already got his own place. And
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Jeremy, heading into this is your second time moving a baby out. Do you feel like I'm ready to do this? We're gonna nail it, like, or are you having like PTSD from the first time through?
It wasn't bad moving. Micah, the only issue was Maddie's a better sleeper than Micah ever was.
Yeah.
So
So
I would
it
think
shouldn't
you
be
had
that
more
bad.
confidence then. Yeah.
I have more confidence this time around.
Okay.
So we've learned some stuff, obviously. Like with Micah, we were much more like, oh my gosh, he's crying, get in there. And I'm like, he'll be okay.
He's all right.
I did feel really bad this morning. He woke up and he had a very full diaper and he was very comfortable. And I felt really bad, but I had to change him. And then I could not put him back to bed. Because it was like that awkward moment of like almost wake up time.
Mm-hmm.
And like, why is I going back down after I change all his clothes and everything else? But it is what it is.
And you guys
He's a
haven't
good
done. Yeah, he's still in crib, right?
Yeah, I don't know when we're saving up to do the
Stretching that out as
probably
long
around-
as you can.
No, I think with us getting a roof this weekend, I don't think it was in the budget to do the guardrail yet. So that's where that kind of went.
The guardrail.
Gotcha.
Oh.
For the bed.
To change the bed to be the toddler bed.
Gotcha. Yeah, Jeremy, that's a little behind the scenes of Jeremy's had the this roof thing going on in his house for like 6 months.
It's been 7. This whole thing. Well, by the time it's all done, it'll be over 7 months. This whole thing's
There you
gone on.
go.
Since the insurance claim was filed, and now it's
But
thankfully
it's happening this week.
it's happening this
It's
week,
happening Friday.
Yeah.
So
which is
And like all this work for 7 months, and they're going to have your brand new roof done in a day.
in a day,
Yeah.
it'll be like, it'll be done by Friday. I'm like,
Yeah.
cool.
Like same day, turn around, brand new roof. Okay.
you're like, we could have done this earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I could have approved all this like months ago, but
Yeah.
they dilly dallied.
Now,
It happens.
Andrew, you guys just put Lincoln out. You just got him out of the crib, right?
Yeah. So ours,
Okay.
he just transitioned. I mean, ours, yeah, our crib just, you lower it all the way down and then it transitions to a toddler bed so like he can get in and out of it himself. So, yeah, and he's done.
You kind of wade into it.
Yeah, and he's done great with it. Like now, we read books, we say our prayers before bedtime, and then I tell him like, "Hey, okay, time to go get in bed. Daddy will tuck you in, and he'll
lock it up.
He'll walk in there, lay down." And the thing that we trained him first because he has a sound machine, and the sound machine does lights, and he very much latched onto the fact that there's like a dim red light that means bedtime, and then when it turns to morning, it turns green, and the sound machine goes off, and that's when he's like, it's morning, mommy and daddy are ready for him to get up. And he he took right to it. So it's been, I mean, hopefully I'm not jinxing ourselves or anything, but he has transitioned just fine.
I'm hoping I can get that. I need to get something like that worked out when we transition him. We've started the red dim thing, but not the transition to green.
Yeah.
Didn't Andrew, didn't the first day, didn't he like wake up super early on you guys or something like that?
Yeah, the first day, it was, I forget what happened, but yeah, he was already awake. The first day we did it. So normally we try to let him sleep in on the weekends, and during the week he gets up like a half hour earlier. And the first day though was a weekend, but he had woken up at his normal time earlier, and he's just sitting there. And then all of a sudden, he's not making a peep. And then all of a sudden we hear the crack of his door that he opens. And then he just makes a beeline, towards, we're upstairs, and he has a loft that's like his play area. And he just makes a beeline past our bedroom to the loft to start playing, like without making a peep, and doesn't even recognize that like mommy and daddy are there. But
he's ready to get to work.
Yeah, he was just like, I'm ready to go. Like it's morning. So that was fun, but he's done well. We can't complain.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, Rachel and I just went on a road trip to Asheville, North Carolina, which is really cool. Although right now, plenty of things are still shut down. So I didn't get to see like New Belgium's brewery or Sierra Nevada, which are two big ones there. We got to see the mountains. We got to see Biltmore.
They didn't shut those down? The mountains?
No, the mountains were open.
The mountains are still open.
Yeah, this isn't California, so they don't try to close down outdoors. Yeah. But we did go to Catawba Brewing, which is really good, and they have tons of really good food there. But the drive made me think of a question I wanted to ask you guys, which is, what's the best way to travel with a baby or a toddler in the car?
You don't. No.
Yeah. I don't think there's a best way to... I mean, it's just kind of a luck of the draw. Yeah. I mean, because it's like the one time it can work great, say, we're going to do it during his nap or bed. And then the other times it won't happen that way.
Yeah, like it really just depends on the day with your kid. Because like some days your kid's, like Lincoln some days loves car rides. And like he'll be just fine to even when he's awake. He'll just entertain it. Like we'll give him something to entertain himself and he'll be good. Other days it's just not going to go well. Like
it's just going to be a bad time.
And like he wants to be up and moving around, and obviously he can't be. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, you try to time it up with naps. Now we have we just got Lincoln his own iPad recently. But we are firm on the fact that he only gets it for car rides that are over an hour that he's going to be awake for, obviously, and not napping. And if it's over an hour, then he can have an iPad. And yeah, like, and Kaylee also got it because evidently she has like a bunch of educational apps that she downloaded too, that like she can be, he can do like games and stuff that are somewhat educational.
Oh, this is how it starts, Jeremy.
Yeah. But we have taken the plunge on that end. Because
that's the same rule. That's the same rule we grew up with, because we had a big old conversion van in our family, and it had a TV built into it. I loved that because the van was so old that it didn't have like a flat screen TV.
It was a big old box TV in the middle of a big
old box tube TV that was in the middle of the van. And
the box TV was
VCR.
So like when you know how you have like the center controlled
the center console.
Yeah, the center console in any car. in the old conversion bands, the box TV was your center console.
Grandpa. I remember Grandpa's had one that flipped out from the ceiling.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Yeah.
We got a hand-me-down that was nicer a little bit later. But I remember we could only use it, I think it was trips for over an hour. We could only use it then. And I remember we would like record movies on TV so we could play them in the VCR on the trip. Yeah. Or sometimes we would talk our parents into letting us bring the PlayStation 2 and hook it up in the car for a really long drive.
I remember playing Gran Turismo, like, through it, and then getting, like, to the very end of one of the really long races, and Dad shutting off the car.
And then
The
Dad would turn
marathon
on the
race,
car to get gas, and we'd be, like 200 laps in. Yeah.
Like, well, we
It was
lost.
like, final lap, and you lost.
Yeah.
Oh, good times.
All right. Well, I'll keep all that in mind. I'll keep it in mind that I can just be kind of hopeless once we have kids.
I mean, it's not
for traveling.
hopeless. You just kind of say whatever happens, happens. That's not hopeless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just got to go with the flow, and you try, but your attempts might be futile.
That's kind of life, though, I guess, right?
Yeah.
You kind of got to go with the flow a little
All
bit.
your fairly designed schemes will just
right.
get a knot.
Because all
God,
that
God uses the wisdom of the foolish to shame them, right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
That's all it
Exactly.
is.
No matter how wise you are, your toddler is not going to listen.
Well, that actually kind of dovetails nicely with what we're going to talk about today, almost like we planned it, but we really didn't, which is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, which is recognizing that I have this. Maybe this is the episode where we dig deep into the Enneagram, boys, you know?
Oh, man.
Maybe this is just an 8 thing.
Ugh.
But I actually think that even though I know that this is a shocker, the Enneagram would say that Jeremy and I are very different people, but I think that we actually probably think similarly here. Because that's allowed.
Don't put me in a box, David.
No, well, I'm saying we're both out of the box. I'm saying I'm saying we're actually in the same box, even though it's trying to put us in a different box.
We're an 8. You're an 8 box. I'm in a 2 box, Kevin.
You're 2 box. I'm 8 box. But this thing that I've noticed is how easy it is for me to go through life and primarily approach life as though I'm trying to beat it, or as though I'm trying to like solve it or progress or build, right? And that's just kind of the way that I approach life. And what I found out is that it can make life very much not fun. Particularly for me and also for people like my wife, right? If I approach our life as like just a series of goals.
Yep.
And I'm constantly evaluating, constantly trying to be better, trying to be, whatever. And that's just something that it kind of came off of Jeremy in the last episode. Jeremy said something about learning to be a little more okay with not being perfectly okay. In our episode about spiritual dryness. And I just got to thinking about how that's sort of a principle that I have to learn a little bit about, because otherwise I just drive myself crazy and I drive other people around me crazy because I'm constantly thinking about what needs to be fixed and what needs to grow, what needs to get better. Instead of being able to enjoy where I am and believe that where I am is okay. So I don't know. Do you guys feel like speaking as another 8 and as a 2?
Yeah.
I'll bounce it to Jeremy just because the Enneagram tells me to. Jeremy, what do you think about that? The Enneagram told me so.
The Enneagram told you so. Well, I guess it's out of your hands then to not do that.
The Enneagram made me do it.
I mean, so I guess exactly what is the question?
Do you feel like you resonate with that sort of?
Yeah, I can resonate with that. I think for me, from a helper, and then I wing 1 primarily pretty hard, which has your inner critic, which I know that I do have issues with in the responsibility parts of things. Like my brain goes to what's the responsible thing to do always. So that's where the goal usually lies. So learning to do that while my wife is different, and also learning to like grow and learn things together more than what I've already perceived or established. So that's kind of where we are right now in a lot of ways too. That's something that we are learning, hopefully better learning now than I was when we started the journey. Not where I'd like to be, but learning that, the journey is worth it, but also so they're saying that life is going to be a journey this side of heaven, no matter what.
Yeah.
So I remember reading something about like an epic versus an adventure, and like Lord of the Rings, or all those are epics. All the people, like, they went knowing they weren't going to be coming back. Like the hero's journey in old literature is an epic, not an adventure. Whereas now all of our stuff is adventures where everyone comes back and just like wins. Whereas epics, no one comes back. If they do come back, they're very different people, or like almost unrecognizable, or they die along the way at the end. So part of that being a Christian is like the old you is dying every day through the epic that Christ is playing to be more Christ-like, if that makes sense.
So instead of like you're still, you're taking comfort in the fact that you're not just gonna like be wasting time, but that what you're going through is building a better result in the end.
Right. Yeah. The quest itself, I mean, that's a weird word that I don't use often. The quest. The quest is heaven and honoring God with the way he's given us, but how that happens throughout life is like what really matters.
Yeah.
And living that and enjoying the meantime, enjoying the quest, enjoying the journey while you're learning about the journey and those on it with you, and how you guys can work together more, and how you're both growing, and how you can encourage each other more. I think that's something that your goals have to shift, I guess, getting married, having kids, and everything else.
Jeremy, what is faith?
She's a 9, hard 9.
Hard 9.
She's very much, I mean, you guys, obviously she's a very peaceful, gentle person.
Yeah.
And she does primarily go to the one, which makes, when she does it, and which I kind of knew when I've read books and talked to people, I kind of knew her personality is very much the peacemaker. Before. So.
He read a book about faith before they got married.
Yeah.
So.
Andrew, what do you think about that? Like dealing with do you feel like you kind of live with like a desire to like meet goals, whether they're spiritual or non-spiritual goals? Like,
I mean, I think just in general terms, it's already like I've seen it with our relationship with Kaylee, because she's a 2 as well, and I'm a pretty firm 8. And she's already reiterated, like there's been many times where she'll explain situations or something like that, and I'm already kind of in the analytical side of my brain and trying to basically think towards the solution or the next step or the fixing. Instead of actually taking a moment to like, she just wants me to be understanding and just be with her in the current situation and just be empathetic. And it's tough on a marriage when like I'm always trying to get our family unit, like I can see myself striving to get to that next level or to get us through whatever current day situation has presented itself, instead of giving much importance to the fact that like I need to show that empathy and understanding for whatever's happening in that moment with Kaylee. And that's something we've definitely dealt with, really as we've gone here. And she's learned more about the fact that dealing with me and how that's how I process things too. It's been, it definitely resonates.
Yeah. I think what I'm learning about in particular is how the way that I tend to define goals or progress in my marriage or in life in general, the way I'm used to doing it is things that are like explicitly that are easily labeled spiritual or easily labeled accomplishments. Those are the things that I'm driven to pursue. So it's like, I mean, it's anything from like feeling as though I'm responsible to be reading a certain book, studying a certain aspect of theology, giving a certain amount of time to the church or things like that. Like getting a certain amount of money in the bank, right? Things like that, like having specific things, whether they're spiritual or not spiritual. And I think most of the time, some of the progress that I desire the most for me and my wife is spiritual progress. But that's obviously something that's spiritual, right? It's not easy to define. It's not a straight path. It's not something you can program. And it's not something as easy as just reading the right books all the time,
and it's not something easy to measure on behalf of you and your wife.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that desire for progress, I think, sometimes progress can be defined wrong, and sometimes the way I want to go about solving that can be wrong as well. And I guess one thing I'm learning is inability to understand that just like our work every day is spiritual, even if it's not in the church. So it is like in our marriage, we'll do tons of things in our home that don't look very spiritual, but they're actually very good and God-pleasing things. And I guess I'm also considering the question a lot of, is wanting progress, even spiritual progress, can that be the same thing as being discontent in a bad way? I guess that's like that's something that I'm trying to understand a little bit better in my life.
Yeah, I get that. It is a good thought, because I've thought that too. Like, is me wanting to improve really just me not being content with where I am?
Yeah, because I mean, on the surface, it seems perfectly godly, right? To say, well, I just want to be as godly as I can be, and I want my wife to be as godly as she can be, and you know what I'm saying? That on the surface, it's like, well, of course, like, who wouldn't say that? Isn't that like the that's like the cop out answer almost of like, what do you want? And so on some level, we do want that. But I guess I'm learning that if it leads me to try to like take control of accomplishing that, there's a certain aspect to it where it's maybe a bit of a pride thing, or maybe a bit of a discontent thing, instead of understanding that where we are now, though we aren't perfect because we aren't glorified yet. Where we are now can still be perfectly godly, even though it seems normal or whatever, you know?
I think that's something that I remember talking to a friend of ours, Josh, about that. And him saying that you realize that right now, this is a view that God wants to change and form. And even talking like Jeff preached today about fruit isn't necessary results. Like I sit there and we think, oh, I have a good fruit. And yes, there is a results portion to that sometimes, but that's not necessarily the fruit that we're supposed to produce. Like the fruit produced in us is, are we growing in godliness, love, and all that stuff? Like, is that the checklist I'm primarily concerned about? Or am I more concerned about, being responsible, saving enough, or having the mortgage paid for, like making sure the money's there 6 weeks early, or whatever, fill in the blank. And I like, honestly, it's more the latter than the former, if I'm honest, with that. And I hope to be growing more, saying the opposite, but it's just where we are.
It's so hard for me to get that across through my mind of like, it's not so much that God is just as concerned. Actually, he's more concerned with the actual man that I am, and the way that I go through these ordinary parts of life, or the way that, not how much I necessarily know or what you necessarily accomplish. That's just hard for me to wrestle with, because I want to do big things, right? That's like I want that to happen, obviously. I don't know many people who don't want to, everybody's got goals that they want to meet. But I don't know, finding that tension between the two but I know that I need to do it, because I know that, too much of this discontent and drive can just lead you to kind of crush joy for where you are, and instead of being where you are right now.
Well, and I think the other thing is we can like compartmentalize those two things between like, okay, I'm going to measure myself because like I feel like I'm growing in the word. I'm like I'm plugged into my community. I'm serving my brothers and all these things on like the spiritual aspect. And then I'm also like compartmentalizing to the fact of all these, like the stewardship in the world and everything I do in my household and all the things, like all the effort I'm putting in on that end. But like you said, like God is very much interested in how you're doing that, the second aspect of all those things too, day to day. And like, we can't think of it as like a compartmental game of all these like worldly other things that I have to take care of and that I continue to strive through. And then my spiritual growth over here that I can excel at in like these certain areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking about it the other day, because I think like Rachel was working a little later, and so there were some dishes that could have been done, and then there was a book that I was wanting to read. And I had an actual moment where I was like, no, I actually think that the most like godly progress right now is actually me doing these like dishes. Because I know that my wife needs them done. Yeah. And I know that she's really busy right now. But like younger me would have thought like, well, this is important. This book represents progress and like
growing in like faithful knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And instead it was just this moment of like, yeah, but these dishes represent like growing in love and
serving my wife.
And serving my wife. And I'm pretty sure the Apostle Paul says that growing in love is like the most important thing. So
that, like the daily aspects of your routine and all that are still things that are under that headship of like
spiritual.
Yeah, spiritual. Yeah. And God is interested in how you're carrying all those things out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also you have the flip side of that same act for a different person, a different circumstance, maybe the complete opposite thing. God would growth could be something completely different in that situation for a different person on their journey. Just from that perspective, maybe, just in general.
Well, like
we're all on a different way of, if you're an overworker who can't sit down, sometimes like, hey, you're also called to rest. It's Sunday or whatever. It's your time to rest. Or, your wife wants to do something else and she said she's going to handle it, letting her do it when she has to do it, when she has time to do it. Just those kind of things. Just thinking through how certain opportunities do come and go, and it's not a one size fits all every time aspect of it.
Yeah.
Like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I so often, like me, we make autopilot decisions of like, oh, this is a decision, go with it. Without evaluating like you did, David.
That's right. I evaluated. I evaluated, and for once I made a right decision, which is good.
And it was the right decision.
There we go. Yeah. Well, I never said if I actually did the dishes. No.
Did you do the dishes?
He thought about it.
I think I did. Yeah. I at least thought about it, right?
Yeah.
I thought
we can ask Rachel later.
I thought about it, and then I was like, oh, I should talk about this on the podcast, and then I didn't do it.
And then he took notes on the podcast.
Read that book.
And
then I read a book. Yeah. Well, and if I think something you bring up there is good, because maybe like if you're a person that I'm a person that will ignore some of these actual practical service things because I'll put this goal of growing in knowledge. I'll put that goal above those other things. So what I need to learn is like part of that love for God gets worked out in better serving other people.
Yeah.
But then if you're also somebody who puts off reading their Bible and I think sometimes we can sort of be happy that there's dishes in the sink.
Yeah.
Because then we don't do, we know we ought to pray or read our Bible or something, but we say, oh, I definitely need to get this, these dishes or something taken care of.
Either way, you can get caught up in like the service to others versus,
You can get caught up doing the thing that makes you more comfortable.
Yeah.
And the thing that ultimately serves you, however that kind of works itself out. And
right. That could be something completely different to someone else. Like you said, David, I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like part of this whole thing is death to self, right? It's almost like it's denying yourself. And I think that this is a way that I'm kind of learning how God is doing that for me, just because maybe it is part of being, I think we've already talked about the Enneagram enough, but I think it is just the way, I think it is just the way that I'm wired to want to go after things and all that. But the reality is that when that desire goes overboard, you can turn your marriage, you can turn yourself. Everything is like a project that you a project and a problem to solve. And you just kill the joy. And in a way, you actually kill the ability to honor God in it because you are convinced that it's broken and wrong and needs to be fixed from the ground up.
Especially, and that becomes especially more difficult when you add in like a family unit that you're taking care of too, because like as the head of the household, there's always going to be that next level on behalf of one of your household to achieve. Yeah. Like whether you're trying to get, your wife, like your wife isn't happy in her position. So what can we do to get her into, another position? Or we want to enable my wife to be able to stay home. How do we figure that out? Like we want to get a bigger house. We want to get, Lincoln and all your children into certain activities. And like, there's always going to be another level. And when you're taking on the head of the household role with a family, like that just amplified, because then it's not only what are you trying to achieve for yourself? It's like, what are you going to achieve for your household at that point? And what are you taking responsibility for?
And I can assume that it's even amplified more when you have kids, because I know just as a husband, another thing that came to my mind as you said that list, Andrew, is like wanting my wife, like wanting to be at some kind of place where like my wife has the ability to, read as much of the Bible as she wants, like spend her time doing that, or spend her time, like for my wife, she's a really good and talented artist. And like, I would love it if she could just do that as much as she wants, things like that. So if it's like a spiritual goal that you would love to like help your wife or your kids accomplish, you're always going to meet those things imperfectly. Like maybe you have a drive of like, we don't really do family devotions, or we don't even really pray as a family, or like we pray as a family this much, but I want to pray even more. Like they're always going to be imperfectly done. At least if you're anything like me, you will have an ideal that is like lofty, and it's probably, maybe by God's grace, you'll get there one day. But even then, it probably won't last. And you'll have to be comfortable living with the fact that you can't have everything exactly in the formula you want to have it to get the results that you think you need to get. And you have to trust God that like while you're stumbling through life, not making all the progress you want to make, or not seeing the progress you want to see, that He is still doing things. And at the end of the day, that what does the scripture say? The scripture says that this is God's will for you, your sanctification. this is God's will for you, Thanksgiving, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say this is God's will for you, a doctorate in theology. This is God's will for you, a bank account or whatever. Like God's will for you, for me, is not some level of progress in that we can tangibly put our hands around. God's will, real progress is me tomorrow morning being able to be loving and thankful and sanctified.
Yeah.
Even if the rest of the progress that I want to see doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's and that it comes with a balance of being sanctified in the service and love of others, on top of being sanctified in faithfulness and growth, like in knowledge spiritually and being more like Christ. Like, so like, I never really fleshed that out. So, or at least spelled it out like we did there.
Well, I think we nailed it.
I think we did okay.
I think we made some progress tonight, boys.
Yeah.
I feel better. I'm going to go do some dishes.
Yeah.
Go do some dishes. Yeah. You guys got any more thoughts about it? I think we did all right. Andrew, did we do all right?
No, I got nothing.
I think, I think we did pretty well. And it's something like, I mean, this is something where every single day in a family unit, you're presented with something new. So like, this is something we're constantly learning, and I'm constantly like, I'm stumbling through every day in some aspect, because like something on one side of the equation pops up, and then I want to jump in and fix. And then I realize that I've possibly, like I didn't get my chance to study or read at the same level that I would have liked to personally. So yeah, it's something where every day it's a struggle, and you have to keep battling.
Mm-hmm. All right. You guys got any recos?
I'm trying to work out more often, so should do that. Fitness is important to some degree. Maybe not to everyone it's the same degree.
What kind of progress?
But being a healthy person.
Yes.
I mean, just like putting your health.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something I was thinking about lately is my health is a vital part of my family unit, and we often neglect that. Whether that's sleep, eating right, working out, or all of the above. Mm-hmm. So that's something for me. I'm trying to keep moving back. Something that used to be really big in my life that hasn't, with kids and a house and stuff lately, and marriage. But it needs to come back.
Yeah, that's good. One of the things I'll recommend, totally on the other end of the spectrum, is it's the season for pumpkin flavored things. And Sam Adams has a pumpkin beer called Jacko.
No.
I'm not a pumpkin beer guy.
Guys,
I am not a pumpkin beer dude.
Hey, I'm out on an island, and that's fine. Yeah. This one is good.
You're on your own island.
I will recommend Oktoberfest beer.
Oh, well, that's my favorite kind.
Yeah.
What's your favorite one? Do you know?
I mean, I really like the Great Lakes Oktoberfest. Yeah. That's pretty good.
Great Lakes is very good.
The Rheingeist has a pretty good Oktoberfest too, because Rheingeist tends to be a little more hoppy, which is more down my avenue anyway. So
yeah, I don't like
you're a hoppy guy.
I don't like the hoppy Oktoberfest ones, but
I don't either. The Oktoberfest brand.
The Great Lakes is really good, and Goose Island is really good too.
Goose Islands is really good. I had North High, I think, the other day. Theirs is pretty good.
Okay.
I have in the fridge right now, Columbus Brewing has a Fest beer, which is their Oktoberfest, and that's pretty good too. But if you haven't had that,
you can't ever go wrong with this, a good old fashioned Sam Adams Oktoberfest either.
Those are good.
It's true.
Too. Yeah.
Flying Dog Brewery, which is pretty good. They have one called Dogtoberfest. That's pretty sweet. But yeah. Anyway,
we could do a whole episode just with Oktoberfest beer.
I got some mead down in Nashville, and I got some Marzen, which is an autumn sort of type Oktoberfest. Yep. And I went in there to this bottle shop, so just got tons and tons. And I just asked the guy, I was like, I'm not from around here, and I want to get an Oktoberfest beer that I cannot get, back where I'm from. And so he grabbed me one of these, and so I've got them saved in my fridge, and the next time we get together to record or something, we can crack those open together.
like
So I want you
that.
guys to try it. So,
Also,
but
we are
Jacko,
at the
guys, I
time-
didn't even get my recommendation out.
Okay.
Jacko by Sam Adams is the name of the
David
beer,
recommends that.
and it's
not
very good.
Andrew
we
and
do
Jeremy.
not.
That's fine. That's fine.
I haven't had it, so I don't know. But
It's much
Yeah,
better. I normally don't like them very much, but that one is very good.
David loves pumpkin spice beer.
I
That
will
I do
say,
not.
guys, at the time of recording this, we are 2 weeks away from Buckeye football being back.
That's right.
So that's
Woo!
get excited. Ohio State is
National
going to come
title.
back.
Here we come.
I'm putting the prediction on already because I've watched college football at this point, and everybody else is not going to be at our level. It's
Yeah?
just not going to happen.
Not even Clemson.
It does
No.
look sloppy. Like
No,
Clemson looks sloppy.
Everybody's giving up 50 points a game. Like
right.
nobody can stop anybody.
In all honesty, college football literally does not start to me
Yeah,
until Ohio State plays.
that's
I have
because
not.
the real players aren't there yet.
That's true. That's right. Well,
Yeah,
on
go
that
Bucks.
note, thanks for listening to Three Brothers Talking, where we talk about life and practice from a Three Brothers Reformed Baptist perspective. And
That sounds so official, David.
Yeah.
thanks, man. Came up with the intro myself.
Yep.
Man, you should
Yeah.
write
Totally
these kind of
original.
things down.
Yep. And there you go. I nailed it. We nailed it. And
We nailed it.
And until
We need
next
to
time,
end it.
we do need to end it. Until next time, we'll see you next time.